Hello, my name is Justin Smith, and this is for Communications 319. The article I've chosen to do is how communicators can fight information overload in the workplace. This article was published in the May issue of Communication World of 2009, and it was written by Martin Epler and Jean Mingus. What it mainly talks about is what it's like to be overwhelmed with too much information and too little time, and how that can hinder your decision-making abilities. What I like about the article is that it kind of does it from the sender's point of view rather than the aspect of how to deal with the problem. It's basically how to avoid the problem altogether as a professional communicator. In this, they kind of talk about 7 simple steps to do it. Common sense things like time it well, and basically that's just to make sure you're not sending out messages during peak hours of operation. When an employee is busy with a client or they're doing tasks that requires their attention immediately. You can provide an overview, which is just briefly tell your audience what your communication is about and who it's important to. And then offer more detailed information toward the end of it. That way, if it's not really specific to them, that they can go on with what they need to do and not listen to the entire message. The third thing that companies have found very productive is to visualize. And basically, it just says to use like a simple and systematic diagrams or visual metaphors just to kind of summarize your message. And basically that just helps the audience to get an overview of your main points. The fourth thing really stems down to like text messagings and voicemails and emails and things like that, is to just keep it consistent. Every time you send out a message, structure it the same. That way people know what to listen for and they know where everything is, or as it says in the article, what is where. The fifth thing is to kind of just make it personal. If you're going to send an email to somebody, just put their name on it, address it to them, and that'll just engage people on another level, and it'll more likely they'll absorb your message. The sixth thing is to kind of make it interactive. Communication is a two-way street. If your audience can actively engage with your message and work with them, then they'll more likely be able to process them. The last thing it talks about is just kind of make it accessible. Using illustrative metaphors, simple analogies, and intriguing stories. For examples, these things help make complex content accessible, to a wider audience. And it doesn't quite overload them as well. Now, as for what information overload is this day and age, we've got so much text messaging, we've got emails, we've got voicemails, we've got phone calls to answer, we've got errands to run. We have a load of things to do, and what it stems down to is when you get too much information in too little time, then that will inhibit your decision making and problem solving abilities. And what the article does is basically talk about this from a sender's point of view, or as the professional communicator, just ways to avoid it. And it goes back to those 7 little steps, but what this whole article is basically about is just it stems from a report that they did by the IABC, which is the International Association of Business Communicators. And in that report, they surveyed companies like Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, and what was really neat is they found out ways that these companies have found to relay the messages to where their audience can receive it a lot easier, and they don't waste as much time trying to process information and letting things slip through because they have too much to deal with. A lot of what it goes into is mainly like visualization. They did a bunch of surveys and things like that, and the article didn't really go into too much specific detail on it, but it kind of gives you an overview of it, and it gives you the actual ways to find the information on there. Basically, what I kind of got from the article is not so much as like a how-to book or anything like that. It just kind of gets you in the frame of mind when you're sending messages, you know, to coworkers or employees or just basically anybody, you know, to just keep it simple, keep it direct, and not to overwhelm them. Don't constantly send them information after information after information, and basically it just says that everything will run smoother that way. When I was kind of looking through it here, it seems that about the first 3 pages of it are pretty relative to what it's talking about, and it talks about the report and all that. But then it goes into other things like it gets more specific with the IABC, Marketplace connects consultants with prospective clients, and then find your links to social responsibility communications. And I kind of felt like the article got a little bit off track with things like that, because it'll be talking about dealing with information overload. It'll be talking about with the actual report that was preparing messages for communication overload environment is what the report is that was done by the IABC. But the article kind of steps away from that and goes into a bunch of different things here, and then it goes back to it toward the end here, and it kind of gives the results of the surveys. And basically what it's saying is that most people have found that visualization is the strongest thing to remembering a message. And that's one thing to keep in mind, you know, and it goes into different ways about how you can do that. Set up little charts, and why a lot of companies don't do that, and how they can improve upon it. And basically, you know, I mean, it was pretty well written. It was informative. It wasn't too overwhelming, and it didn't stray all that far, aside from some of these little things here that it just kind of went into. But basically it just gets the communicator in a frame of mind that helps with regarding to